Certainly a pleasure to be here. Can't beat the weather. For senior showmanship, I'm going to do something. You're just kind of starting out the gate. I'm going to open the exit gate. So for you showmen in here, if your pig goes out, you're going to be awarded a red ribbon. I feel like seniors, you should have a little more control. So just wave bye-bye as you go out the gate. Now stay in the ring. That's the goal. I just want to see kind of what command and control you guys have. So continue showing. I just wanted to make everyone aware of that concept.
Today our judge is Kyle Bade. He comes to us from Plymouth, Nebraska. Beatty, sorry.
Sorry. They ever done this concept here before?
Starting the day out here with senior showmanship. Again, unfortunately, we did lose one. Going to award that young man a red ribbon. I kind of feel that as you get these older age divisions, you should have enough control, command, and poise to kind of stay in the ring. The easy thing to do is to show behind me. That kind of defeats the purpose of showmanship. Obviously, the logic is to get in front of me and keep that hog going back and forth at a consistent motion back and forth, and how easy the transitions are. Eye contact, I think, is very, very crucial. There's one individual in here that I think that does all those things and surfaces the top quite handily. The young gentleman showing the belted barrow is going to go ahead and be your champion senior showman. Go ahead and put your hands together for that young man if you would. In addition to not only his body posture and command and eye contact, I think from a skin and hair standpoint, he exemplifies kind of the ideal presentation. You know, he gets that hog kind of cleaned up and you know, it's dark, which probably helps a little bit, but from a skin and hair standpoint, you know, not dry skin, certainly helps to make that one more appealing. I think there was a close reserve. The young lady right here with kind of the calico gilt is going to go ahead and be next. I thought her eye contact rivaled that of my champion. I don't think she had quite as good of a response time, so that's why she's going to be a reserve, and instead of kind of challenging the young man that goes ahead and wins. Ultimately, I think if we can get her to be maybe a little less hands-on and getting that hog to go, then I think you could flip-flop that pair. But really, I think two good young individuals to go ahead and be your two purple ribbon winners in this group. From there, I'm going to award 3 blue ribbons. I think by and large just needed a little bit more to be in the driver's seat as opposed to kind of want to follow. I have a tendency to kind of want to not tell that pig where to go. They're kind of being led around the ring. If I can get them to kind of get their hogs in front of me going back and forth like those first two, then I think you can make a case to move them into the purple ribbon category. But because of those things, we're going to go ahead and leave them in the blue. I don't go through and ask questions. To me, there's other avenues that you can kind of show the trivia and knowledge skills you have. Ultimately, I think when you're in the ring, I want to kind of see your natural ability to get those hogs presented, and that's where we had 2 that I thought were very deserving of purple ribbon, 3 blues, and then the 1 young individual that went ahead, and I'm going to go ahead and award a red ribbon to. If you would put your hands together for these 5 as they make their way to the exit gate, we'll jump into the next division.
Our grand champion and reserve champion pictures will be at the end of the show. So receiving grand champion senior swine showman is Hadley Riley, and that is sponsored by Gubster Generation Farms. And receiving reserve champion senior swine showman is Kendra Lawman, and that is sponsored by Gary and Mary Kay Walter. Receiving blues are Ryan Roberts, Grant Lawman, and Lillian Howe. And receiving a red is Noah Howe. Next up, we'll have intermediate swine showmanship. Class is complete. In this class, we have Joseph Roberts, Cooper Avey, Margaret Roberts, and Lana Alley. If you're hungry, there's donuts over in the pavilion. Those are brought to us by Farm Credit Services. Our wood chips in the arena are provided by Agriland FS. And the exhibitor wood chips are for BNC Trucking. So please give all those sponsors a great hand. Providing our photography today is Blue Windmill Photography with Casey Wallace. Do you need all the, here's all these.
For the second division of showmanship, I think there's a very logical winner to go ahead and start things off. Champion Showman does a very good job of combining eye contact and presentation and body language. Shows me that not only is he engaged, but he has the knowledge and the whereabouts or wits about him to kind of understand where and how I want to see that pig driven. The young gentleman to my right, farthest away from me with the belted gilt, is going to be a very logical champion in my opinion. Just does everything so well and encompasses so many of the pieces of the puzzle and puts it all together in a very effortless package. Very, very fine job by that young man. I think the decision, and it's very close for reserve, is the two young people right here in front of me. Both of them are very close. Kind of gets down to about splitting frog hairs. I kind of go back and forth where there's an area or two where I think you could tweak them. They probably don't have as much control and command, maybe want to follow or ride in the passenger seat a little bit more often than what our champion does. But still, I think we're going to need to keep those both in the purple ribbon category. I go back and forth and take a deep breath and kind of step back. You got to use the young lady right here for reserve, in my personal opinion. Probably does a little bit finer job in terms of having that pig ready to kind of show here today. I think at times, what kind of separates it is when I watch him drive, she has less of a tendency to be more hands-on, and that's where the young man right there is a perfect example where he just wants to rest his hand on that barrow's back that he's driving. It's getting really nitpicky because I think eye contact and enthusiasm is easily found in that young man when he gets out and shows. Just has a tendency to kind of want to be a little bit more physical and hands-on, and he doesn't need to. Honestly, I'm not against using your hand, if you get stuck in a corner so you don't have to hit it with your stick repeatedly. But when the hog's kind of going out, it just kind of takes away and detracts, I guess, from kind of what we're trying to do in terms of getting that one hog presented effortlessly. Young lady, exhibitor 81, is going to go ahead and be awarded a blue ribbon and kind of round out this division of showmanship. Of the four individuals, I thought, eye contact was good in her own right, but comparatively probably not as consistent as the trio that moved into the purple ribbon group. With that, has a tendency to kind of want to ride the rail or work her way outside the ring as opposed to get it in the center of the ring, and keeping it short and sweet. Just wanted to see a little bit more gumption to kind of get that one driven in order to move up a category. Really a good set of kids. If you would put your hands together as they make their way out, and we'll welcome them in the next division.
Receiving Grand Champion Intermediate Swine Showman is Cooper Avey. And receiving Reserve Champion Intermediate Swine Showman is Lana Alley. Receiving a purple is Joseph Roberts. And receiving a blue is Margaret Roberts. The sponsor for the Grand Champion Intermediate Swine Showman is Arbor Bank. And the sponsor for the Reserve Champion Intermediate Swine Showman is Howe Family Farms. Our next class is Junior Swine Showmanship. Class is complete with Alex Lawman, Hunter Riley, and Catherine Howe.
three purple award winners here in this junior division of showmanship. I think a very logical 1, 2, 3 placing. Going to start with the young man driving the belted gilt. I think easily the combination showman of this trio in terms of combining eye contact and I guess driving with a purpose or kind of having a plan in mind, as it appears to me. He wants to kind of get that gilt's head up, and I think from a presentation standpoint, hog that's very clean and well kept and still dark in color, certainly adds to the aesthetics in terms of making it look or appear that there's been some homework done back behind before we came here. To me, it combines that presentation with the right attitude, I think, in terms of being cool, calm, and collected and getting out here and driving that gilt. After that, you got a pair of young ladies out here, and there's one that I think does a better job in terms of maintaining eye contact, but there's one I think has a little bit more control. That's the young lady farther from me that's going to go ahead and be your reserve champion. I think exhibitor 23 may be her name tag. It's very difficult, I think, to kind of get one presented when they kind of get away from you, and that's ultimately what it kind of boiled down to in sorting that pair. I think from a skin and hair standpoint, that hog's probably got a little bit more whiteness to its hair coat, which kind of helps that one look a little bit shinier. And it kind of sounds dumb that we talk about them like cars or brand new shoes, but ultimately that is kind of an avenue or an item that we kind of focus on when we're trying to present something. You want it to look as new and shiny and as bright as you can. With that, from a skin and hair standpoint, I thought she was the one that was able to better stay close to her hog, and always kind of don't forget to keep the fundamentals in place of keeping the hog in between me and yourself. I want to see him out in front of me. That's the young lady that rounds out this class with a purple, showing with the cane. I don't know if it's maybe you use a different utensil to kind of get that hog slowed down. She wants to come in here and run and race away from it. It gets it, kind of harder to look at. It doesn't make you appear that you have as much control and command getting out here. Love absolutely contact in your presentation in that regard. Just wanted to see you have a little bit more control and faith in the ability to get out and kind of get that one shown. But if you would put your hands together as this trio makes their way out, and we'll jump into the next class.
Winning grand champion junior swine showman is Hunter Riley, and reserve champion is Alexis Lawman. Receiving a purple is Catherine Howe. The grand champion junior swine showman is sponsored by Green Plains Renewable Energy, and the reserve champion junior swine showman is sponsored by the Fremont Page County Corn and Soybean Growers. Our next class will be our Class 1 Market Hog.
She was on Linda messed up.
Class is complete. In this class, we have Hadley Riley with a pig weighing 189 pounds, Hunter Riley with a pig weighing 225 pounds, and Hunter Riley with a pig weighing 239 pounds.
Here for this first class of market hogs, there's one I think that exemplifies the proper proportions and balance. Is probably the combination of the other two. Logical class winners, the young gentleman right here in front of me with the belted barrel. The barrel that I think exemplifies a really attractive look through his head and neck, and then when you get to the back side of that one, skeleton, absolutely incredible amount of width and mass and still fresh muscle shape. Handles it on a very comfortable feet and leg pattern from the side. I think that one checks a lot of boxes. From there, you got a pair of hogs that I think are very, very different in type and kind, and I think you can appreciate them for each for kind of what they do, but keep it short and sweet and simple. There's one that just offers so much more bulk in a three-dimensional package. That's going to be my second purple young man's calico barrel right here in front of me. Is going to be awarded that honor. Absolutely opened up from end to end from a skeletal standpoint. Just so much width and power and mass packed into one package. Does so on an incredibly stout skeleton in terms of foot and bone. One that probably bests the class in that regard. Not quite as attractive through his head and neck as what the young man's wide belted hog is that rounds out this class. One that you really need to appreciate for her attractiveness and her levelness. Probably a higher cutability hog. Moving on down the line, she just gives up so much in terms of three-dimensional mass. If we could combine more natural thickness with her added look from the side, then I think you could logically go ahead and flip-flop that pair. I'll be the one to first to admit that the calico maybe pushes the limits of being certainly as far outside on the corners is what you want to see one at this stage in the game. And although the gilt maintains probably more true squareness throughout, I think she takes a little bit shorter and more rigid stride, and that's kind of what compensates or makes her stay within herself a little bit better. But still, I think a logical 1, 2, 3 placing or for 3 purple ribbon hogs in this first drive. Congratulations to these exhibitors. Idea. I like it.
Which one was your first one?
First was the one that Grant had. Receiving first purple is Hunter Riley. Receiving second purple is Hadley Riley. Also receiving a purple is Hunter Riley.
Last two were 39. Yeah.
Class is complete. In this class, we have Hadley Riley with a pig weighing 252 pounds. Hadley Riley with a pig weighing 253 pounds. Lana Alley with a pig weighing 259 pounds. Grant Lawman with a pig weighing 261 pounds. Lillian Howe with a pig weighing 268 pounds. Lana Alley with a pig weighing 268 pounds. Alexis Lawman with a pig weighing 271 pounds. Noah Howe with a pig weighing 272 pounds, and Cooper Avey with a pig weighing 274 pounds.
very competitive second class out here. Obviously, a few more numbers entry-wise, so, but that, I think can maybe overwhelm some people just in terms of there's a lot of good ones in here. Instead of just looking at 2 or 3, I think this goes 6 deep. That's why I'm going to award 6 purple ribbons in this particular drive. Really, I think a very, very stout 1-2 punch, and the one that just has more substance is going to go ahead and win. That's the young gentleman right here in front of me. Belted barrel that just has an incredibly amount of power up top and still doesn't sacrifice a really, really good look. Maintains the right kind of width, and it feeds true from the ground up in the blade back. That one's natural thickness, I think, is very evident as he goes ahead and crosses the trips. Probably a little bit with that added stoutness and density, probably not as attractive as the young man's belted barrel that winds up in second right here to my left. Really, I think a sleek fronted individual that's really correct in the angulations to that one, shoulder and knee set, and still doesn't give up any in terms of bone. For me, one that gets out and tracks extremely wide and square and true in his own right. Probably not quite as three-dimensional in through the center portion of his rib cage is what our class winner is, but I think those are 2 hogs that are extremely, extremely good in their own right. From there, where'd she go? How many did we lose? 2? 3? All right. Third's right here, the young lady's narrow belted hog. I think that's the one that's the next best combination of stoutness and muscle mass and shape. Just not quite as attractive. Gets a little bit thicker in through his jowl than what our first and second do. But the young lady exhibitor number 70 is certainly more than, I think, deserving of a third place finish in this particular drive. We could just extend that one's front end ever so slightly to further complement how much thickness and mass that one has from the blade back. Then I think you could make a case to kind of move him up a spot or 2. But I think a logical third place finish is where that one needs to go. From there, you've got a pair of belted hogs that I think are a little bit bigger in their type and kind. I think the young lady, exhibitor number 23, is going to be my 4th overall place in this class. A hog that I think is very comparable to the exhibitor number 24 that's going to wind up in 5th in this particular drive. 2 hogs that I think have the same kind of stature and frame. They have a little bit more leg to them. I think in terms of width, the young lady exhibitor 23's hog just offers more natural thickness as you analyze him through his center rib and body cavity. It facilitates more topside mass than the gentleman's belted hog is. This chromed up barrel right here that's going to wind up in 5th. I really do appreciate the added frame and growth pattern that one presents himself. Just kind of gets out horse and gas as he gets a little bit flatter and tubular in through his forerib, and doesn't have as much depth and muscularity as you work your way back. The opposite end of the spectrum is the young gentleman's barrel that's going to wind up in 6th right here in front of me. Extremely three-dimensional made and bulky centered type of a hog, really round-bodied, round-ribbed hog. Also has a very good lean animal shape as you work your way and view that one's expression back in through his hip. Ultimately, though, that added muscle shape works to his disadvantages. He gets a little bit more round in his overall appearance for what I'd like to see. If we could just make that one a little bit bigger in stature, kind of lengthen and loosen up those lines, and I think you could move him up a spot or 2 in this particular drive. With that being said, we're going to move into the Blue Ribbon Award winners from after that 6th place finish. Young ladies belted gilt right here. Red and white belted one's going to go ahead and be next, or be 7th in this class. Ultimately, 1st. Blue hog that I think has a little bit more natural muscle shape and stoutness to her than what the hogs are that round out this class in 8 and 9. No, she's not as big frame, but I think she's just bulkier. If we could make that one a little bit more comfortable off those rear 2, she's got a little bit of a swelling, looks like maybe a myco problem kind of swinging, but coming right at me, the front 2/3 of that one far excel those hogs that are in 8th and 9th. I like her added stoutness of muscle in combination with her added bone. Just wanted to give her a little bit better running gear off those rear 2. Pair of roaned up kind of red spotted hogs are going to go ahead and wind up in 8 and 9. I prefer a little bit more mass and thickness of this darker red hog over the young lady's kind of fawn colored light red barrel to go ahead and wind up 9. Big picture, a pair of hogs that I think are just bigger in their type and kind, certainly functionally sound in their own right. Just need to be more of them, get a little bit more two-dimensional for my liking in order to move any higher in this particular drive. They'll go ahead and make their way to their exit gate. If you would put your hands together, and we'll jump into the 3rd class.
All right, receiving 1st purple in that class is Cooper Avey. And receiving 2nd purple is Hadley Riley. Receiving purples are Lana Alley, Grant Lawman, Lana Alley, Alexis Lawman. Receiving a blue is Hadley Riley, Lillian Howe, and Noah Howe.
So first and second in this class were both Hunter Riley.
Yes.
Okay.
Also, I need to make a correction on the first class. First purple and second purple both went to Hunter Riley.
I actually think this one was a blue, purple.
Next up, we'll have our Class 3 Market Hog. Class is complete. In this class, we have Noah Howe with a pig of 284 pounds, Catherine Howe with a pig of 286 pounds, Alexis Lawman with a pig of 291 pounds, Kendra Lawman with a pig of 293 pounds, Joseph Roberts with a pig of 296 pounds, Joseph Roberts with a 298-pound pig, and Catherine Howe with a 299-pound pig. Joining us this morning from baking her pie and the freshly crowned queen is Malia Moore. Congratulations, and thanks for representing our county.
We've got a pair of purple ribbon hogs in this particular drive, followed by 5 blue placing hogs that I think are very, very close. Top side of this class, you've got a pair of black belted hogs that are very, very similar, I think, in type and kind in terms of being a little bit more combination driven as opposed to kind of single trait selecting in terms of one feature or another. I think you can make a strong case to kind of go either way, because I think there's good you can find in both of these. I like to use the young ladies barrel right here to my right in front of me to go ahead and win. I think that one just offers a nickel bit more stoutness and circumference of bone in combination with added shape and muscularity up top. Really, I think a square constructed one off both ends of his skeleton. Probably a nickel bit more look and presence in the young ladies' wider belted barrel right here to my right. It's a bigger scaled hog that's still, I think, correcting the angulations to his shoulder. Gets a little bit rigid off his rear too. Big picture, I think, from a bone standpoint, probably just gives up a little bit up in terms of stoutness and kind of throws his balance off just a nickel bit as you compare him to the hog that goes ahead and wins this class. But two, I think, very good, deserving purple ribbon hogs to go ahead and lead off this class. From there, we're going to go ahead and discuss the 5 blue ribbon hogs. I think there's a kind of a blue rumped one that needs to go ahead and be third. That's the young lady to my left. Exhibitor 83 is going to go ahead and be your first blue or third overall in this class. I think probably the one that exemplifies a product-oriented hog that doesn't sacrifice performance, just reading the indicators, and that one's center rib and body cavity, probably complements that added thickness with a little bit better design from the side, in direct correlation to comparing him to the four other hogs that are out here. From there, I think it gets, kind of flip a quarter. You can go a lot of different ways. The one that I'm going to go ahead and use next is the young lady's longer-bodied white hog. Exhibitor 32 is going to go ahead and be fourth. I like that one's added size, scale, and just extension. For me, just gets a little bit flatter made as you analyze that one from the ground up. The same could be said for the young lady's spotted hog right here. That's going to go ahead and go next. I think follows a lot of the same patterns in terms of being a bigger scaled type of a hog. Just not quite as long, not quite as much ESTs as what the young lady's white hog is. I thought from a leanness standpoint, they probably had some advantages over the hogs that kind of round out this class, because after those two bigger scaled ones, you kind of run into a little bit, maybe more thicker ones, but I think from a composition standpoint, ones that are pushing a little bit more cover. I'd like the young man to my right to go be awarded sixth, and the young gentleman's red, kind of down-eared Duroc influenced hog to round out this class. I like the thickness as you analyze those that pair in through their center rib and body cavity. Just like to give them a little bit more bone, maybe just make them a little bit leaner from a composition standpoint in order to flip-flop them any higher in this drive.
Receiving first purple is Alexis Lawman, and receiving second purple is Kendra Lawman. Receiving first blue is Joseph Roberts, and second blue is Catherine Howe. Also receiving blues is Joseph Roberts, Catherine Howe, and Noah Howe. Next up will be our last class of market hog. Class is complete. In this class, we have Ryan Roberts with a pig of 304 pounds, Lillian Howe with a pig of 310 pounds, Kendra Lawman with a pig of 319 pounds, Grant Lawman with a pig of 329 pounds, and Ryan Roberts with a 351-pound pig.
We need your hog.
2 and 3. Very good class winner, the young man's black-headed, white-bodied barrow to go ahead and start. Easily, I think the combination hog that combines a really attractive look and really impressive to have that much capacity, volume, and mass and muscle thickness and still be comfortable. That's all from a balance standpoint by having it more than an adequate enough of a bone for the size and scale of that hog. Probably best the young lady's belted hog that winds up in second from an attractive standpoint, because there's the young lady's belted barrow as he kind of traipses across the ring. Very, very thick-made, three-dimensional hog that's bulky in his appearance. Reads to me very I think very, very good in terms of muscle mass and thickness. Just a little bit throatier or thicker about his jowl there than what our class winner does. But, that's kind of to be expected for as we reach these heavier weights. Still, I think from a bone standpoint, one that balances up well, just not quite as attractive probably through his head and neck as what the initial class winner was. From there, we're going to go ahead and award 3 blue ribbons for the trio of predominantly white hogs. I like to go ahead and use the young man right here in front of me for your 3rd overall in this particular class. I think probably just a nickel bit better combination of matching width at the ground in comparison to how wide scaled he is up high in comparison to the hog that winds up in 4th, and that's the young lady here to my left. I think from a phenotype standpoint from the side hogs that don't differentiate themselves much, in my personal opinion. Just saw a little bit more natural width in the young man, and that's kind of ultimately what sorted that pair for me. Young lady's white rumped hog farther from me is going to go ahead and round out this class with a blue hog that just gives up too much in terms of balance and levelness from the side, wants to roll his top up ever so slightly. Certainly, I think a practical and functional market hog. Sure, we could reconstruct his shoulder a little bit, but one that you need to appreciate for being a heavier scaled hog that can still get out and go, and that's why we're going to go ahead and keep him in the blue ribbon group. Then go ahead and make their way to the exit gate. We'll welcome in the next class.
Receiving first purple is Grant Lawman, and receiving second purple is Kendra Lawman. Receiving first blue is Ryan Roberts. Receiving blues are Ryan Roberts and Lillian Howe. The class that's in the ring right now is the home-raised market swine. And the exhibitors are Noah Howe with a pig of 272 pounds, Catherine Howe with a pig of 299 pounds, and Lillian Howe with a pig of 310 pounds. Grand Champion Home-Raised Market Swine is sponsored by Jamie AV Design. And Reserve Champion Home-Raised Market Swine is sponsored by Jeremy and Kayla Walter.
You want the 3rd one placed? Here for the home-raised division, you got a trio of hogs out here that I think are very comparable in terms of size and scale and basic build. I think from a proportion standpoint, there's one that just reads a little bit more level to me, and I think that stems from being maybe a little bit more correct in the angulation to it, her shoulder. That's going to be your champion, the young man with the red spotted up gilt's going to go ahead and be awarded that honor. If you would put your hands together for that young man right there farthest from me with his champion home race. From there, you've got a pair of predominantly white hogs that I think are, again, like I stated earlier, very comparable in terms of how their skeletons are put together. There's one that reads with a little bit more thickness or probably cover, and I think there's one that has a little bit more length. And I'm more inclined to kind of go with the more extended one. That's the young lady's barrel right here. She's going to go ahead and be your reserve champion for that added extension and length. For me, one that gives up a little bit in terms of rib and body in comparison to the young lady's blue ribbon hog that rounds out this class. For me, it's from a function standpoint, one that just doesn't balance and level up quite as well. Gets a little bit more forward in that shoulder and causes him to be a little bit more of a kind of a station wagon look from the profile. I do like his thickness, just wanted to level him out. Really nice trio of home-raised prospects, hogs.
Receiving Grand Champion Home-Raised Market Swine is Noah Howe. And receiving Reserve Champion Home-Raised Market Swine is Catherine Howe. And receiving a blue is Lillian Howe. All right, so for our Grand Champion Market Hog final drive, we'll start releasing the pigs, the first purple from each group. So in class 1, we have Hunter Riley, and his pig weighed 225 pounds. In Class 2, we have Cooper Avey, and his pig weighs 274 pounds. In Class 3, we have Alexis Lawman, and her pig weighs 291 pounds. And rounding it out, in Class 4 is Grant Lawman, and his pig weighs 329 pounds.
Four certainly deserving class-winning hogs out here. It just happened to be, I guess, 4 barrows. Didn't do that on purpose. Just kind of gravitated towards quality, and that's kind of where the cards fell. I think these belted hogs out here, there's one that combines so many good, hard-to-make traits with that added look and extension and stoutness. I love this one's width. Really has a lot of bells and whistles. I'm a big first impression kind of individual. When this one came in, I kind of just said, whoa, we got one. I'll keep it short and sweet. Young man with the narrow belted barrow is your champion. You need this back, or can I keep it?